Race 4 coming up at Randwick in 8 minutes. It's one of the big ones, the AJC Sires Produce Stakes, first run in 1867, and the list of winners of this race just abounds with great names of the turf. Well, there's St Covert on your screen, the runner-up in the Golden Slipper last Saturday week. He's a lean sort of horse. He looked pretty light to me before the Slipper, and not surprisingly, he looks even a touch lighter today, Ken, but that's not to say he can't win either.
That's right, John. I just said to Ronnie Duffy, what did he think of St Covert? And he said he does look a touch lighter, but he still looks bright, which is a very good thing. Right, here we go. Number 1, Dan Zero, still at $2.60. St Covert has firmed into 15 to 4 or 3 3/4 to 1, about $4.70 on the tote. Races Edge, the second of the Hayes runners, still at 11 to 1. Blevick, the third, at 7 to 2. So Hayes supplies the second and third favourite, St Covert and Blevick behind Dan Zero. Dapper Magic is at 33 to 1, the same price for Jack Sorbetta. Dr. Zachary is now out to 7 to 1. Payak is a scratching, 20 to 1 Code, 80 to 1 Bogey Drive, 33 to 1 Restiff, and Last Spy is at 100 to 1. They're the tote prices with $411,000 invested, and there's the favourite, Dan Zero. Greg Hall is the jockey, and before he went out to ride Dan Zero, who do you think Anne-Marie Sparkman collared?
I'm talking with jockey of the moment, Greg Hall, Derby winner, Golden Slipper winner, and you've got Dan Zero in the Sires Produce. Will he do it again?
Well, why not, Anne-Marie? On a roll, so I'll keep it going, hopefully.
Now, of course, you've got a little holiday coming up. You got any plans for that?
No, I was only discussing that this morning with Kimmy. I'm going to, next few days, I'm going to take Nicholas away fishing for a few days with me, because I've been away for 3 weeks now and I haven't seen him, so I'm looking forward to that. And then maybe we might try and go to take it. We're thinking of toying on the idea of taking him to Disneyland, so I've got a month, so I've got plenty of time, so...
And what's your reflections on all this business about the fact that racing's out of control in Sydney? What do you think?
No, I think it's a farce. I think it's ridiculous. Okay, yeah, it does get rough at times, but I mean, just tell me a business that don't get tough. You know, I mean, it's not a contact sport. We know that, but any big business, when there's big prize money involved, is very competitive, and you're always going to have problems. And the biggest problem, if they want to try and do it like American English racing, they'll have a huge problem then, because I'm going to assure you the Australians won't accept it, and the general public haven't been brought up that way, and owners won't accept it either.
OK, well, when the going gets tough, we know the big G gets going. So good luck today in the produce.
Yeah, you serve it out, Anne-Marie. I've got to give it back.
Thanks, Greggy. Good luck today.
One of my favourite racing people, Greg Hall, and I pretty well agree with his sentiments too. Here's another of my favourite racing people, another man in form, Ronnie Duffy. Ron, just as we come over, I noticed $2.70 now for Dan Zero and $4.50 for St Covert.
That's pretty comparable too, Ken, and he looks sensational, the favourite, Dan Zero. I'm going to switch to him. He's really come on since the Golden Slipper. If anything, he hasn't lightened off. He looks nice and relaxed. Thought there was a good long shot again here. Number 5, Dapper Magic. A bunch of battlers have got him. He looked extremely well. They've paid $12,500 to get him in the race, so he must have pleased him. So I thought if there was an upset, if they leave him alone in front, he could surprise.
They're not battling too much if they got the $12,500 to pay up for him.
And they won the Silver Slipper too, so they've come out of the battler class.
Good on you, Ron. Certainly Dan Zero does look the pick of them in the enclosure. I just think the way the race is run, St Covert could have the edge today. I hope so. Here's Johnny Tapp.
Thanks, Ken. Yes, the horse they're talking about, Dapper Magic, is owned by JF and Mrs. B.A. Jury, JJ and Mrs. M. Brown. Jack Jury is a builder by trade, and he just hobby trains 2 or 3 horses, including Dapper Magic, who cost very little as a yearling, and yet he's won $191,000, Shane Dye. He's been a bargain buy.
He certainly has. There's no doubt about that, and his win the other day at Kembla was very, very good. Dan Zero, he's looking magnificent around at the start. He's not sweating. He's come around beautiful, and you know, he's lost no condition at all on his run the other day in the Golden Slipper. St Covert's sweating up a little. He looks light, but he always does, and he was light before the Golden Slipper, and he's going to lead. There's no doubt about that. He'll lead in the race, and Blevick, he looks good, the horse that Mick Dittman's here on. He's got a lovely barrier 3, and he should just get a lovely run in behind St Covert.
Righto, Shane. Yes, he'll have the box seat run, no doubt about that. And this is a race chock full of interest. I was only looking at Dan Zero as Shane was speaking then. What a beautiful colt he is. Even if he never wins another race, his future stud value is inestimable. Not only is he by Danehill, this is Danehill's first Australian crop, and they're doing remarkably well. But Dane Hill, with his first European crop, had something like 15 individual winners. He, in turn, is by one of the world's great and most influential sires, Danzig. And coupled with that, you've got Dan Zero, who was a classic type of thoroughbred. So even if he never wins another race, he's certainly going to command the big money to stand at stud later on. Beautiful horse. Now the gates are locked in front for the AJC Sires Produce Stakes, due in just under 2 minutes, and they're about to be called up. David Hayes makes it a bit tricky for race callers by switching colours on Racer's Edge, which is in completely different colours today to the ones he carried in the Golden Slipper when third. He carried Colin Hayes' colours in that, black with blue sleeves. Today he goes back to the first set of stable Lindsay Park colours, white with a green sash, black sleeves and cap. And I'm just trying to think which one of the Hayes runners carried those in the slipper. I think it was Rose's Path, one of 4 runners David Hayes had in the slipper last Saturday week. Now Dr. Zachary is the first up into the stalls. He was one of several horses to get flattened in the early stages of the slipper, Dr. Zachary. There's Code moving forward with Lance O'Sullivan on board. Lance O'Sullivan on a flying visit from Hong Kong, principally to ride Popsy in last Saturday's Derby. But he was able to stay on for today's meeting and has picked up a couple of rides, including Code. Now there's St. Covert going up. Restive, who ran a nice race in the Golden Slipper at long odds, is about to move up ahead of La Spy. Down the track a bit, Dan Zero, Jax or Better, and Dapper Magic. Jax or Better hails from Western Australia, trained by George Daly, who was here a couple of years ago with a pretty good horse called Sir T, which ran in a slipper after having won the Brambles Classic at Kembla. And Jax or Better came here as the winner of WA's biggest 2-year-old race, the Karrakatta Plate. Now Jax or Better moves up into line. We wait on Restive and Dan Zero. Dapper Magic has moved in and stands well. Bogey Drive is in the gates with Code, La Spy and St. Covert. And they look to be about set, and the starter glancing at his watch as he strides across to the rostrum, and he sees that they're right on 2:25 in Eastern Australia, starting time for the AJC Sires Produce Stakes. All set. They face squarely. Off in the Sires. Good start. Came out in a nice even line, and Dapper Magic is first to break that line. St. Covert is going through quickly, and he's going to lead St. Covert. Getting to third, Jax or Better, followed by Dr. Zachary, and then Code and Bogey Drive, followed by Restive La Spy. Further back, Racer's Edge. Dan Zero's getting well back. He's second last on the outside of Blevick in the run to the first corner. St. Covert wants to go a little bit hard in front. He's over racing just a shade, led by about a half length to Dapper Magic. A length and a half to Jax or Better in the box seat. Bogey Drive a bit deep on the outside of Restive, followed closely by Dr. Zachary. Further back then, Racer's Edge wide on the outside of La Spy and Code, and the last couple of Dan Zero and Blevick. 700 out, St. Covert the leader by a length to Dapper Magic, a length Jax or Better, who's travelled nicely, followed by Dr. Zachary. Bogey Drive under pressure. Restive is 3 deep as they near the turn, followed by Code. Racer's Edge. Dan Zero starting to work into it now, still giving the leaders about 7 lengths, and well back Blevick and La Spy as they turn for home. St. Covert is first over the rise from Dapper Magic on the outside. Jax or Better on the fence, immediately under pressure, and then Dr. Zachary followed by Restive, and Dan Zero is now putting in a long run. He wants to lay in a bit. St. Covert has burst well clear at the 200 mark. Dan Zero's running into second place. He's taking an age to get out after St. Covert. He looks pretty weary, Dan Zero. St. Covert is clear inside the 100. Dan Zero's struggling. He can't do any better, and St. Covert's going to win the Sires. Good on you, Wayne Harris. St. Covert beat Dan Zero. Blevick has come from last to get third, followed by Bogey Drive, Racer's Edge, Dr. Zachary, then Jax or Better, Dapper Magic, followed by Restive and Code, and a long last is La Spy in the AJC Sires Produce Stakes. St. Covert as tough as teak, and a very lucky ride for Wayne Harris. $4.50 and $1.70. Number 1 Dan Zero, $1.40, and number 4 Blevick third to pay a place tote of $1.70. Well, Wayne, at least Ken will be happy during his suspension.
Exactly right, John. All those mugs who think barriers don't make a difference, well, I hope they watch that race, because they make a hell of a difference. Dan Zero had to go in behind, give an impossible start. And St. Covert, well, I don't think he's as good a horse as Dan Zero, but he certainly had things made to order today, and God bless him, because I had me cash on him, and that makes you enjoy it about 3 times as much. Number 2, St. Covert, beautifully ridden by Wayne Harris. Now, just watch it here on the home turn. That's him in front. Now, he tries to hang out off the rail a little bit here. You'll just notice it in a moment. And Jax Saw Better in the similar cap to him, right behind him in the cerise and blue on the rails. If he was good enough, there was a run there for him to take. But unfortunately for Saw Better, the opening was going quicker than he was. And St Covert slipped away. And as we pick them up again here inside the furlong, well, the bird's flown. The race is all over. Dan Zero ran a sensational race to get into second spot, but, you know, it was an impossible task. Don't you worry about Dan Zero. He's a damn good colt, and he'll show just what he's made of when they come back as 3-year-olds. But the winner, number 2, St Covert, a man who must watch that race with mixed emotion is Shane Dye, because Shane told me that Harris had to go straight to the front on St Covert. He said, don't worry about him holding him up. He said he'll lead, and Shane, you were exactly right.
Yeah, well, I've got Wayne here, and I know what it's like to ride a great horse like him. And Wayne, congratulations, and did you follow my instructions?
I did, Shane. You're a champion. You told me how to ride him, and I hope I followed him all right, mate.
Well done. He's a sensational horse, and it's a bit unfortunate you led me in the slipper, because I do think he would have won.
Well, I thought it'd bring undone it did, and it didn't help my horse either, but you know, I hope you backed him today, Shane.
Jockeys aren't allowed to bet, Wayne. I hope you realise that. But congratulations, you rode him to a tee, and you deserve every success you get.
I feel sorry for Shane Scriven. You know, it's not very often I replace someone that's too heavy, but Shane deserved it, and so did you.
His bad luck's your good luck.
Yeah, it was bad luck there for Shane Scriven, who was to ride that horse. Right, he's actually trained, as we told you, one of the 3 runners of David Hayes. I'm sure he's excited. Here he is with Anne-Marie Sparkman.
David, well, revenge there from the slipper. He got up this time.
Yes, you know, I think he's proven he's the best 2-year-old in Australia, and it was just a shame he got nutted on slipper day, but, you know, Wayne rated him well, and it makes you wonder how he got beat, really, the way he won today.
He led all the way, didn't he, virtually? I mean, and he looked in such easy form.
Yes, and the trend was for horses to make ground today, so he went against the trend, and I just think he's the best around.
Well, I mean, he's had a succession of jockeys, hasn't he? He's had more jockeys and hot dinners in the last few weeks.
Yeah, but, you know, with all the bad luck of Jim Cassidy, Shane Dye's bad luck, and Scriven's bad luck not making the weight, and to put Harris on and to see him ride it like that, I couldn't have been happy with anyone else on it.
What a gift for Wayne Harris today. What did he say to you when you approached him?
Thanks, boss.
Well done, and that's a nice breakthrough in the carnival for you.
Sensational. Yeah, really
well done,
nice.
David.
Yeah, and there he comes back now, St Covert. Wayne Harris saluting the crowd with his cap. And, well, he might. What a great rider he is, Wayne Harris. Because of his weight, he doesn't get the opportunities his ability deserves. I know that's often an excuse given for jockeys who can't ride, but cop my tip, this fella's one of the best in the business, not just in Sydney, but in Australia. And look at that smile on his face. Wayne's actually married to Linda Begg, or she's now, of course, Linda Harris, one of the Neville Begg's daughters, and he does a fair bit of riding for her brother, Graham Begg. There he is now with David Hayes. David's smiling like the Luna Park clown, and Wayne Harris, when we catch him, will be doing the same. Okay, that was the story of the Sires Produce Stakes. Dan Zero won the slipper, St Covert won the Sires. We'll be back shortly on this day of turf on the wide world of sports.
Welcome back to Royal Randwick. The Sires Produce has been won and run. Magnificent race there by St Covert. Paid $4.50 and $1.70. Dan Zero into second place, $1.40, and Blevick at $1.70. Now our guest tipsters, they had theirs on Blevick. Kenny in the money, but Fatty and Simon into third place. Bad luck, fellas. The afternoon continues. And now for an update on what's been happening on this Easter Monday on the playing fields around this country. Here's Ian Maurice.
Good on you, Max. Thank you very much. The Australians' chances at the Bells Beach Surfing Classic ended today.
Yeah, well, they're the happy connections. Wayne Harris, particularly big smile on his face. The presentation was made by AJC committeeman, Mr. Jack Ingham, for the Sires Produce Stakes. The horse was Sash St Covert. What a grand job he's done. He's won races in Adelaide, Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, and up on the Gold Coast. So he really is an Australia-wide horse. Our next race coming up is the first leg of the Daly Double from Caulfield, race 5. Let's look at the early totes. Number 1, Carolingian, the horse David Hayes spoke of earlier, is at 11 to 1. Keter at 5s, Black Rouge at 20, Forgotten Ruler at 10, Street Ruffian at 20, 8 to 1 is Euro, 25 to 1 Marmur, 8 to 1 Just One, 8 to 1 Mr. Untouchable. I've got my money on Arbonne Rouge at 7 to 1. Manly Star is out, 16 Mr. Elegant, my Wandering Star is out, 6 Brompton Cross, 20 Charleston Party, 20 Body Wave, and Yardstick is a scratching. I've backed Arbonne Rouge. Now, Fatty, we need an improvement out there, but mate, I'm a good sport. I'll buy us a drink.
Yeah, we had no luck, although Simon did get the trifecta last race. He boxed 4 of them. It cost him $24. It paid $31. You're going pretty good there.
That means I made 7, didn't it? How much did you make?
Now, what are you tipping?
Oh, we'll go to Caulfield. I think number 2, Keter, will win this one. Jeff Daffy down at Camperdown. When he brings them to town, usually they run a pretty good race. Neville Wilson on board. I'll give it a chance.
Right, I'll be on the 8, Just Dewin, ridden by Stephen Baster. Back to you, Kenny.
Thanks very much, Fatty. And with me now is a man, another man with a big smile on his face. It's AJC Chairman, Mr. Bob Charley. Bob, on Saturday, it rained at a time when a lot of people were leaving home, but I'm sure you're very pleased with the crowd and the racing.
Yeah, Ken, we were delighted. We probably would have topped 40,000 had we had fine weather. We had the best crowd in 16 years. And it was one of the most spectacular days racing I can ever remember. I reckon the theatre that was on display after the Doncaster winner was when the number flashed up, and Gavin Eads and Gay Waterhouse there, and the excitement was something you had to go a long way to see, even as exciting or more so than when Superimposed won here a couple of years ago.
I think it was too, Bob. I picture you getting a bit of that footage of Gay and Gavin particularly and putting it into an ad somewhere along the line.
I think that was just remarkable. So we're delighted. We've had great crowd Saturday, great crowd again today, and not only that, Ken, but the betting figures are going well, and we think the tremendous enthusiasm again. I think people are feeling confident again about the future of racing after tough times. I think there'll be a great yearling market this week, and we're delighted with everything that's happening.
Things are going good, Bob. Good on you. Bob Charley, a happy man with racing at Randwick this fine Easter weekend. And as we switch to Caulfield, the horses are milling behind the barrier for the start of this first leg of the double. A big field and a little bit of luck will probably come into play from the Caulfield 1400 metre barrier. It's a race in which they're turning almost from the word go, and inside barriers are a decided advantage. The horse I spoke of earlier that I liked, Arbonne Rouge, is out in barrier 15, and Alf Matthews is probably going to have to ride him very quietly. He's won his last 3, only one since a spell. He races in navy colours with red and yellow hoop sleeves and a yellow cap, so if you're looking out for him. In centre picture there at the moment is Mr. Elegant in maroon colours there. He's just going back out of screen. I like the chances of Arbonne Rouge. As I told you, it's a very wide betting race. Keter is actually favourite at about 5 to 1, so that shows you how wide the betting is. Simon O'Donnell likes Keter. If you're looking for him, he's in white with green braces and a green cap, so predominantly white colours, barrier 11. And Fatty Vorton likes Just One, who'll be racing in yellow with red braces and a red cap, so predominantly gold colours there, trained by Mark Riley, who's had some very good horses in recent weeks, Mukhtar being one of them. Okay, they're just about all in, 1 or 2 still to go. Remember what I told you, watch for that flashing light, and you'll know it's very, very close to post time. For the 1400 at Caulfield, they jump out, turn, start turning, and if your horse is trapped wide, well, its chances are much, much tougher. But in this race, there should be speed on all the way, so let's hope every horse gets his chance. About to go, here's John Russell.
Channel 9 wide World of Sports joining us for the 5th of the day. And they're off and running. Mr. Untouchable, the first to jump out, quickly headed by Brompton Cross, out quickly Street Ruffian. Mr. Elegant commenced well, and just in behind them, Black Rouge was well away, followed by Carolingian. Dropping back along the inside is Euro, followed by Just One. A bit further back is Body Wave, followed by Forgotten Ruler on the outside of Charleston Party. Keter well back third last, with Arbonne Rouge and Mamura's tail back to last of all. Street Ruffian in front of the 1000, led by a half length in advance in second place. Black Rouge, a length and a half. Carolingian on the outside of Mr. Elegant, followed by Body Waver. Brompton Cross a bit further back there, closely followed by Mr. Untouchable as Euro. Going around the outside is Just One, and making ground on the outside then is Keter, a length and a half. Forgotten Ruler, Charleston Party, Arbonne Rouge, and Marmur is last of all as they come down to the 600 metre mark. Street Ruffian and Black Rouge together, a length to Carolingian. They're followed by Mr. Elegant on the inside of Body Wave. A bit further back, Brompton Cross, Keter. Mr. Untouchable behind them looking for a run, followed by Just One. A bit further back as Euro, Forgotten Forgotten Ruler, very wide Arbon Rouge, Marmur and Charleston Party. They're making the home turn. Street Ruffian tackled by Black Rouge and Carolingian joining in. Mr. Elegant just in behind them, followed by Charleston Party getting a run through, and Brompton crosses deeper on the track as they come to the 200. Carolingian takes the lead. Mr. Elegant coming down the outside with a good run, and Street Ruffian and behind them, and over on the inside Mr. Untouchable. Here comes Mr. Elegant at Carolingian. Carolingian, Mr. Untouchable on the outside. It's Mr. Elegant getting up to score. Mr. Elegant has won it from Carolingian. Mr. Untouchable may have been third, just ahead of Street Ruffian there, followed by Marmur, and further back in the field Charleston Party, followed by Azuro and Forgotten Ruler, and the next to finish Black Rouge, followed by Arbon Rouge. Further back in the field then Keita, who finished a long way back with Body Wave, followed by Just One and Brompton Cross, one of the tail enders.
Well, he just got there in time, Mr. Elegant, trained by Barry Barnes down at Cranbourne. His dad Mel trains at Randwick. That's Carolingian bursting clear in the Robert Sangster colours, went past Street Ruffian, but now Mr. Elegant with Spike Short throwing everything at him, and Mr. Elegant, you'll find, just nabs Carolingian right near the line, and possibly Mr. Untouchable sneaking along the rails to grab third placing. But that's not official, but you'll find for sure Mr. Elegant first and Carolingian second. A break coming up, and then back with more racing on this fine Monday.
Dividends race 5 at Caulfield, number 12. Mr. Elegant paid $18.50 and $6. Carolingian, $2.90. And the third dividend just in is number 9, Mr. Untouchable, paid $2.80. Now, our hapless tipsters, down the gurgler again, Kenny. Bad luck, Fatty. Simon, what can you say? A lot of good punters out of luck, and if your punting too is looking just a little bit depleted, then Kenny Callender might just have a winner for us in race 5 at Randwick.
Hope they go as good as St Covert, Max, but I've got McCass this time on deposition. He's about an 8 to 1 chance. I think that's super value. Number 1, Surfers Paradise, now with Lee Friedman, former Kiwi, 9 to 1. Soho Square, clear-cut favourite, $3.50 for $1, odds of 5 to 2. 8 to 1 deposition, 25 Zinders, 40 Prince of Praise, 33 Javelin, 50 to 1 Skillful Star, Primacy and Golden Sword are out. Telesto, second favourite on the tote at 3 to 1. It's All in Fun at 14 to 1. Romney Conti at the same price. Excited Angel ran a good race in the Doncaster at 16 to 1. Skating is out to 20 to 1. Dop's out. And March Hare is an 11 to 1 chance. He's the 3-year-old in the race. Was to be ridden by Jim Cassidy. Now will be ridden by Mark de Montfort. I'm on deposition in a tricky race. Fat boy, what are you on?
I'm on the fence at the moment. But I'm going to be on March Hare. I've just had a look at this. I've cast my eye over it. Run the fingers down the flanks. It looks very fit today. 1600 will suit. Looking at its form at the track and distance, 3 starts for 3 wins, Kenny. So I'll be on March Hare to be ridden by Mark de Montfort, who's in form. Simon?
Well, I'm doing another one of those rules of mine with tipping. I'm going for Surfers Paradise, number 1. I think he'll come back into the winner's circle. And if he doesn't, I'm going to Surfers Paradise, and I'm going to hide from everybody.
So you should. Back to the best caller on the land, Johnny Tapp.
OK, Fatty, and we'll have the runners on the track shortly for the all-age stakes. You know, a little horse called Telesto has really captured a few hearts in recent times with his barnstorming finishing runs a la Superimpose. Following a sensational win in the George Ryder on March the 19th, he failed by centimetres to win the Doncaster on Saturday. And because he doesn't knock himself about too much in his races, he's been as bright as a button over the weekend, and he's going to back up shortly in the all-age stakes. Let's meet a little horse with a mind of his own. There was a time Telesto was thought of as a dog of a horse. But now it seems he knew more about this racing business than given credit for. The pony-sized stallion sees little point in overexerting himself in the early stages of his races, and no amount of coaching can get him to participate in the early scramble for positions. In the recent George Ryder Stakes at Rose Hill, he appeared to overplay the waiting game. Now, we know Telesto likes to relax a bit in the early stages, but he's really gone to sleep today, and he must have been... At the halfway mark, he was conceding a massive start to some of the best horses in Australia. a field which had collectively earned more than $11 million in prize money. By the home turn, Telesto had caught the tail enders, but nobody seriously thought he could sustain that effort. But the little stallion had other ideas. Sir Bernard, big dreams between them, followed by Burst and Skating, and Telesto is now looking for a split between horses at the 150 mark. Big Dreams and Al Akbar are fighting it out. Telesto is still there. Down the outside is Golden Sword now. It's Telesto grabbing the lead in the shadows of the post from Golden Sword.
Yeah, well, he just likes to go out very casually his first 400 metres, and he gets tails out a bit. And, you know, we're not going to try to change that now at this stage, because that's the way the horse loves to race. And I can't see any reason why we should change it.
Yeah. Was it a case of learning a bad habit early in his life? Well, why is he like this?
I just think he was more comfortable racing that way. That, you know, the horse feels comfortable doing that, so why change it?
The breaks don't always come Telesto's way. In fact, 3 starts back, he was a certainty beaten in the Warwick Farm Apollo Stakes. Look for his bright pink colours back in the field as usual, and shortly you'll see him run into a brick wall. There's the trouble, and the little horse loses momentum. He balances up and gets going again to beat all but Burst. Telesto's unique style of racing has cost his owners a fortune in prize money and left him with an ordinary strike rate. In fact, he's won only 3 from 25 starts, and there was a gap of some 16 months between his first and second wins. Still, the little fellow looked bright and perky as he dodged the puddles at Randwick during the week. If ever a horse has beaten the handicapper, it's Telesto in the $1 Million Mile. Despite a great second in last year's Epsom, he was weighted on just 51.5 kilos for the Doncaster and has raced in non-penalty events ever since. Well, it must be hard work sitting in the stand watching him race, tailed off with 18 or 19 horses in front of him, knowing that he's got to break 34 seconds for that last 600 metres to win. How much longer can he keep serving it up?
Yeah, well, but that's a nice part about it. He only runs 600 metres in a race. He doesn't, if he goes out and he's got to face the breeze running wide or anything like that, he just sits back at the tail of the field and just comes with that sort of really strong finish in the last 600. So really, he's not putting any pressure to himself during the race. He's only just going 600 metres every time he runs.
Plenty of pluses, you know, with a horse like Telesto. It doesn't matter where you draw at the barrier. There's little likelihood of him being in an early traffic jam. There are pluses for it.
Oh, certainly. Like, we don't have to worry about barrier draws. All I can say, the jockeys in front of him are going to need a rear vision mirror to see where he's coming from.
Race crowds love a horse with a big finishing run, like Kiwi's great burst to win the 1983 Melbourne Cup, or some of those unforgettable performances by Superimpose. Off in the Doncaster, Telesto straight out the back and back. Everything went according to the plan in the early stages on Saturday when the little chestnut tailed straight out to last and just ambled along with 16 horses in front of him. Stand-in jockey Brian York, replacing the suspended Shane Dye, started to probe for openings immediately after turning for home. Now watch for those bright pink colours as Telesto gathers momentum and sets sail after the leader Kingston Bay, with Pharaoh making his run down the outside. The finish was an absolute thriller. Right behind those leaders, Poetic King tackled by Kingston Bay, Excited Angel, and look at Pharaoh. Pharaoh coming down the outside, might tip them all out. Kingston Bay, Pharaoh, Telesto getting up on the inside of them all. Close Telesto or Pharaoh. I think they've just beaten Kingston Bay in the centre. It was one of the closest finishes ever seen in a major race at Royal Randwick, with victory going to Pharaoh by a hair's breadth over Kingston Bay, and an inch away third was Telesto. Telesto is a tough little cookie who backs up after a hard run, and his presence in the all-age stakes field today at Randwick gives extra gloss to day 2 of the Autumn Carnival.
Okay, there's Telesto, the horse we just saw in centre screen here at Randwick, being passed there by March Hare. Let's have a look at the latest tote figures on the all-age stakes. Number 1, Surfers Paradise, still at about 9-1. Soho Square getting out a little bit, about 11-4 now. Number 3, Deposition, still at 8-1. Zinder's out to 30-1. Prince of Praise at 40-1. He'll lead in the race. I think he was nabbed here by Soho Square one day in this type of race. I don't know if he's going quite as good at the moment. Javelin, one of the Kiwis, is at 33-1. Skillful Star, a stablemate of March Hare, is a 50-1 pop. Promising Golden Sword are out. Telesto showing $3.90 at the moment. almost into 11-4, just a few cents longer than Soho Square. It's All in Fun is into 12-1, got a good record at weight for age. Romney Conti getting out to 16-1. Excited Angel out to 20-1. Skating still at 20-1. Dopfer's out, and March Hare, well, he's firmed up a bit. He's into 8-1. Ronnie Duffus, he's been keeping me company here at